A key characteristic of Europe is the efficient transportation system, and that transportation system is supported largely by the rail sector. Indeed, the last time I was in Europe, it was fun to sit in a train that would just move you, the subway as they call it in London, and also in other parts of Europe. It's very efficient, very fast. In Ghana, though, our transportation system has generally been on the road, and these roads themselves are not good. We've always had a subsector of the Transport Ministry that handles rail development. In the new Akufo-Addo administration of 2017, he created a whole railway ministry with the intent to expand rail network in Ghana. Now, in his second term, he has scrapped a lot of the new ministries he created, but he retained the railway ministry. How has that ministry fared so far in addressing the transportation challenges of Ghanaians, i.e. the rail sector? My guest today is a man whose job it is to ensure you can hop on the train and get to work and back. When we come back, I have a conversation with him. My name is Umaru Sanda Amadu. You're welcome to Face to Face. My guest is one of the very successful persons from the Volta region in the new Patriotic Party. Now, if you consider how our political parties operate, the NDC stronghold is in the Volta region, the MPP stronghold is in the Ashanti region. So it's usually not safe for you to even want to contest if you're an NDC person in Ashanti region. This gentleman, though, an Ever from the Volta region, decided he's going to join MPP, the Achiglinyi party. He contested in the heart of the Volta region, which is the middle of the region in Hohwe, and he won. John Peter Amewu, you're welcome to Face to Face.
Thank you so much, my very good friend.
How are you doing?
I'm very fine.
I would like us to talk about the Hohwe story, but let's start with the main job you're doing, railway development. How is it? Do you have expertise in rails or something?
Well, it's a very interesting sector. I don't have a direct expertise, but I have done a lot of construction in my life. You know, one of the first pre-stressed concrete bridge in Ghana. I was then a deputy project manager. We built a bridge over the Jange Lagoon, the Ningo Bridge. Okay. You know, I then went with a construction company. So I did a lot of construction work. Yeah, but in the rail sector, I'm not a railway engineer.
I see. The first time the government or Akufo-Addo won, he made you his Minister for Land and Natural Resources.
Precisely.
You were active running around fighting galamseyers. Then he moved you to the energy sector.
Yes, please.
You became Minister for Energy. And then you went to win the party a seat in the Volta region. You broke the Volta region for the NPP. And yet they sent you to railway. Many people think that they've sent you to a smaller ministry or a less juicy ministry.
No, not at all. The railway ministry is quite capital intensive. In fact, if you want to talk about capital injection in the railway sector, it's about 4 or 5 times more than the energy sector. What happens here? So it's a sector the president really want to put concentration on. A kilometer of railway line, we're talking about between $6 to $7 million US dollars.
Oh, so that's how much it costs.
If you want to build a 100 kilometer of railway line, you're talking in excess of about 700 million, wow. 600 million. So it's a very huge capital intensive sector, and you need a lot of concentration and attention and experience. I think having put all these things together, His Excellency thought.
So it's not a demotion?
Not at all. Not at all. No.
Amewu supporters are not happy that will. Energy, there was oil, and then land, there was gold. Now they bring you to railway, only metals. What did they take?
It's a keteke. Because this is a sector to develop. Okay. It is not a running sector. So it's quite a challenging, to get the sector developed and get it working. I think many people may be quite disappointed because they don't see the rails, plying on along the various sections. But the kind of concentration His Excellency has put in this, if we continue with that momentum, I think within the medium term we should be able to get the rails working.
In my intro, I explained to my viewers what I saw in Europe with the rail sector. I believe you've seen the same too. What is our plan as a country with the rail sector? Are we doing rail just for goods, or we're doing rails for human transport? Paint the picture for us. What is the current status, and what are we estimating?
His Excellency have a master plan for the railway sector, which we call the Railway Master Plan. Within that, we have what we call the freight and then the passenger lines. So it's a combination of two. We have, for instance, divided the sector into the western, eastern, central spine, and then extended eastern line. The western line, for instance, is the line that runs from the Takoradi port through Manso, Kojokrom, down to Dunkwa, 10 on the left to Awaso, then to Nyinahini, and then continues from Dunkwa to Obuasi, there up to Edum, Kumasi.
Okay, so
that's the western line.
So that one is for cutting bauxite, manganese, and those things.
And also for passengers.
Okay, so that you can hop on a train from Takoradi to Kumasi. You don't have to go by road.
Not necessarily by road.
And you continue from Kumasi upwards?
Yes, it's a hoop, it's a loop. So you can continue from Kumasi down through Nyinahini to Awaso, and then join the intersection again at Dunkwa, and then come back to Takoradi.
Okay.
So that's the western line.
Okay.
Now we have the eastern line that runs from Accra, Tema, Achimota, through Kufredua, down to Bososo, and then if 10.
So Nsawam. Currently, we have a line that goes to Nsawam, right?
Precisely.
So that's the one you're calling the eastern one?
That's the eastern line.
So from Nsawam, it continues to where?
It continues to Kufredua, then from there goes straight to Kumasi. But that line, as it stands now, is what we call the narrow gauge.
Okay.
The current master plan that His Excellency has, agreed on to be developed is what we call the standard gauge.
What is narrow gauge?
The narrow gauge is the limited one in terms of the speed.
Okay.
The track. The rail to rails are very narrow. Okay. Let me use that word for the layman to understand. Okay. But the standard gauge is quite wider, and it's more stable, and it can go faster than the narrow gauge. The narrow gauge goes less than 100 kilometers, 60, 70. So it's a slow line. The standard gauge is more advanced and can go very fast, more stable, and stable to maintain, its traffic density, and therefore carry a lot of.
But that line currently terminates at Ajin Kotoku. I'm not sure it even gets to Nsawam.
Yes, precisely. It ends there. But what we're going to do now is to convert that narrow gauge to standard gauge and continue up to Kumasi.
So you're going to remove all the pallets, the metals and everything, and fix new metals? Is that what it means?
Until the standard gauge is complete. We're going to build the standard gauge along the side of the narrow gauge.
Alongside. You're not going to remove the old one?
No, not as a narrow.
Which means it will start from Accra Central.
Precisely.
The one in Accra Central is narrow, isn't it?
Yes, it's narrow.
So we're changing we are setting up a new structure from Accra Central all the way to that place.
Precisely. Just as we are doing in the western section, changing the whole section. In the western section, we also have the narrow gauge. So we're constructing the standard gauge along the narrow gauge,
side by side.
Side by side.
But I haven't seen anything across the one in Circle every day. I don't see the new one that has been done.
The work has actually not commenced on the eastern line as compared to the western line. Western line, quite extensive amount of job is being done. The eastern line, we are yet to start some aggressive work.
Have we even awarded it on contract?
Yes, we just awarded a contract to an Indian company, KEC, that will be working from the Accra Swam through Ajeko to those areas. Yeah, so that contract has been awarded. But what we're waiting for is the parliamentary and then the cabinet approval.
As way back as 2010, when I was following the then Accra Mayor, Oko Van Der Poy, and the Railway Development Authority, they were clearing hawkers because they said this is railway line, don't move, don't do business along it. There are people who are running chop bars and all of that. Do you have the land to build this, your standard gauge you plan to build alongside the narrow gauge?
Because of the indisciplined nature we have, within, let me say, the Ghanaian culture, most of the right-of-way had been occupied by those hawkers. The right-of-way used to be, I think, about 30 meters apart. Now it has been narrowed. A lot of hawkers have, taken over those areas. What we're trying to do is to narrow down on the right-of-way. But those that still fall within the limited space we've created now, we're going to pull those buildings down. For instance, in Kumasi, one of the delays is as a result of a lot of churches. These are huge international churches that are built right on the right-of-way. We've started the engagement process to see those that will be able to escape will escape. But those that are right in the middle of the line, definitely we'll have to pull them down. Yeah.
So that is the plan. So that's the eastern line, and it ends also in Kumasi.
Precisely. Both the eastern and the western line.
Do you have other lines?
Yeah, we have the extended eastern line. The extended eastern line is the one that runs from Tema, which you can see going through Afienya.
Yes, it goes through my village.
Precisely.
Towards.
Yeah, that's actually, it's an agreement between Ghana and Burkina Faso. So that line is going straight to Burkina Faso. And of course, it's passing through my constituency.
So it's going through Burkina Faso by river, not by land?
It's going through Burkina Faso by, it crosses River Volta at Senche.
Yes.
And then it goes straight to Mpakadan.
Which is in the Sojaman district.
But before Mpakadan, there's a branch, at where you see the cross, the overhead. There's a branch there which goes straight to Volta region, to OT.
So Asikuma Junction area.
Precisely, to OT, and then continues to Burkina. That is an agreement between...
So let me understand. The current plan, in fact, there's always been a plan, and this was led by the previous government, that we have a rail line moving from Tema, we'll cut goods to Mpakadan, dump it on what's the name of the vehicle that carry stuff on, is it ferry or whatever, and ferry it to the Savannah region where they would move their goods from there up north. You were saying that aside that plan, we also have a plan to build a rail line in the OT region all the way on the eastern corridor?
Aside that plan to transfer from rail onto the river, there is also another plan, which is a government-to-government agreement to link the railway lines between Ghana and Burkina Faso, direct by rail.
So it will be
so that when the goods
corridor
are cleared straight from the port, there's not going to be any second handling charges again.
Which is on the river?
Which is going to be, there's the one on the river, of course, there's going to be a termination point for them. But this one, right downloaded from Tema Port, straight, the other port.
So that one goes through where? OT region, the continuous
that goes through OT region down to the northern
so it goes through Bimbila and those
Tamale,
places?
It goes to all those places.
Oh, I see.
And then the master plan also have an element which Cabinet has approved recently under my predecessor, that every regional capital of this country must be linked by the railway, which was a directive from His Excellency the President. So you see that, for instance, the one going, the extended eastern line, there's a branch line again which goes to Ho. We couldn't have gone through Ho and descend because of the hill. So that is just going to be a branch to Ho and then come back and join the extended eastern line again and then continue.
And where does Koforidua join Ho from, if you are planning that?
No, the Koforidua ones join the eastern line. Koforidua is not on the extended eastern line.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the connection of Koforidua to Ho as a regional capital.
So the eastern line will be connected to Koforidua.
Yes, that's
the extended eastern line will be connected to Ho.
Okay.
The extended eastern line will be connected to Dambai. So it's along the line.
Yeah, but if I want to move from Koforidua to Ho via train?
No. The lines are not connecting the regions. You cannot drive through the region.
So you are connecting Ho to Dambai.
Precisely.
And then Dambai to maybe Tamale.
Yes. The master plan is designed such that there's a branch to each regional capital as the line progresses. It's a branch to each regional capital.
And then Koforidua goes to Kumasi.
Precisely.
Then Koforidua comes to Accra.
Precisely.
Okay, then we have Tema. Going to Ho, all of that is happening. Let's talk about that extended eastern line. There are lots of mango farmers in the Krobo land. So villages, not even Krobo, but in the Dangbe land. So villages like Lom, Tekwam, Bong. They said they had mango farms. You drove your rail tracks through them, destroyed their farms, and the compensation you are paying them is nothing to write home about. 100 cedis per tree. That's too.
Well, unfortunately, it's a news to me. Before the construction activities began, when there is a need for the line to pass through someone's property, we need to go through process. The land commission would have to get involved. Assessments are done properly. And when assessments are done, compensations are paid. So compensations are paid for both crops and then for the land. Now, the law says if for some reason, because the railway authority doesn't have the capacity, even under the law, on its own to pre-estimate the cost of the compensation and even the land. The only authority that is responsible to do it is the land commission. And so the land commission will do a pre-estimate of a value of, payment that need to be done to the landowners. And this has been done. But what happened is that most of the landowners and those who own some of the crops on the land, of course, are not satisfied with the derived estimate. But what the law says is that if for some reason, you are not satisfied, there are alternatives for you to pursue. And I think those owners, are aware. And I'm quite surprised that...
they say nobody's minding them. They say they've written petitions to your ministry, to the Lands Commission, to the Railway Development Authority, and nothing is happening. Their farms have been destroyed, no compensation whatsoever. And that
I know compensation have been paid, and as we stand now, I can be sure that about 90% of compensation have been paid. But I'm again aware that there are some two, families that are not okay with the compensation. But we need to follow a process. The minister cannot say, well, this is the compensation we want to give you, you are not satisfied, I will increase it. Unfortunately, I cannot do that. I'm tied within the ambit of the law to operate. So the process is, well, if they are not satisfied, there's an alternative, and they need to pursue that, which I think they know. All those landowners also have, I think, some consultants that speak on their behalf and make sure that things are done properly. So if for some reason, I'm going to use this opportunity to say those that feel that the amount paid, doesn't justify it, the value estimation of their crops, of course, the alternative is then open up for them to, continue.
So you're giving us an assurance that you would address these challenges,
Precisely.
you meet up with them?
Precisely.
So what should they do? They should come to your ministry, or they should go to the...
I'm surprised you said the petitions have been sent. I haven't had an opportunity to look at it. Well, I will get back to the Railway Authority and find out what we can do.
Let's look at the cost of building a rail line. So I have noticed that you have two overheads on the main Tema-Akosombo highway. So you're crossing one around Afienya, there's one around the Senchi area.
Is that not 4 of them?
Yeah, and then there's one on the Gigidokum Agomeda side, and then there's one around the Lom side. Is that not too expensive? There's even one crossing the Akuse Junction Somanya Road. Is that not too expensive, the overheads you're building just for a train to pass?
No, you see, the new master plan, the new master plan, unlike the previous narrow gauge system that we have, are taken into consideration that every railway line must either go above the road network or beneath the road network. So where you see the lines crossing, I mean, formerly or in the previous old days, you can just allow them to. Now, it's be done such that both the rail and then the road can ply concurrently.
Yeah, but considering that they are not busy, we should be able to. So that just put the barrier and then we stop drivers.
We should stop looking into the short term. We should look into a long term. And most of the railways lines are done today. You're talking about UK. They were done taking into consideration what will happen in the next 50, 70 years. The lines may not be busy today, but in the next 10 years, you never know what is going to happen.
Yeah, look at the money.
It's not about the money. If the money, because of the money, we want to do short distance, it's not right. Kwame Nkrumah would have built a single lane from Accra to Kumasi. He was looking at what will happen in the next 50 years. Look at what we have today. So I think as a country, we should begin to think for the purpose of the yet unborn, what will happen in future. And that is why we are coming out with this master plan. It's not a plan for His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo for 4 years or 8 years. It's a plan that will last, and see to the future of the yet unborn, so that things will be done and done properly.
Yeah, but if you're doing it for the future and you're too ambitious and not financially ready, it means you're just saddling yourself with stress, because it will take this is your 5th term as a government. We still haven't seen a train running on the road, on the rail. And yet you are building and paying compensation, building bridges and all of that.
Yeah,
would you ever finish that line?
We're just not working for 4 years just to say Nana Akufo-Addo has done a rail line for 4 years. Nana Akufo-Addo is constructing a railway not for himself or not for the 4 years, for Ghana. We're constructing and developing a railway for Ghana, a railway that will last over 50, 100 years. That is exactly what. So we're planning for the long term. And so if you don't see the rail running within the next 4 years, what you can see now is the amount of work that have been done. This amount of work, it's solid, that can take us into a long term. That's exactly what we're trying to do. Another thing is that because we're migrating from the narrow gauge to the standard gauge, the standard gauge, to navigate, it's quite a bit difficult. Unlike the narrow gauge, which can meander, on short stretches. The standard gauge is a bit wider, as I said, so navigation have to take a lot of time. So in order to get that curvature, that is why, you see the line crossing the road, at those intervals with the overhead that you talked about.
You've talked about western, you've talked about eastern, you've talked about extended eastern. Is there a central line?
There's a central line, the central line also, and we have the central spine. The central spine again runs from Kumasi, and it goes straight to join the extended eastern line somewhere in Tamale. And, so that's that line. And that goes through BA, sections of BA,
so that's heading also for the northern part?
Also heading to the north to intersect with the extended eastern line in Tamale.
When would I be able to hop on a train from Accra and end up in Navrongo?
It's a very interesting question. The rail construction takes a lot of time and is capital intensive. As I've stated earlier, a kilometer of a railway line is about 4 or 5 times the cost of building a concrete infrastructure in terms of asphaltic road. Considering our fiscal space that we have as a country, facilities to absorb debt is becoming a bit problematic for government. Our debt to GDP is in excess of 70% thereabout. The railways line hardly can be constructed using our local resources. And so all the lines that we put in now, what we do is to go for EPC. By EPC, we are talking about debt financing, which reflect on the government balance sheet. So as and when the fiscal space of government is a bit, we'll bring in more debt, to construct the line. So I will not be in a position to tell you that within the next 2 years, you can hop in a train from Ghana and then end up in the northern.
We don't have a plan?
The plan is there, but because we are again...
Is there no timeline for the plan?
We put in, I think, about, what I know is about 30 years, to construct the whole master plan. It's about 30, 35 years.
Yeah, but in 5 years or in 10 years, what would I be able to do?
In 5 or 10 years' time, I think I can tell you for sure that the Western Line, of course, within the next 5 years coming, we should be able to complete the whole Western Line, where bauxite and other minerals can be hauled through the Enyinahini.
So by 2024, should someone in Takoradi be able to hop on a train and end up in Kumasi?
It depends on the priority of which government that comes into
2024,
place.
Talking about this current...
Yes, okay. In 2024, we may not be able to complete the Western Line. It's not going to be possible. I mean, let me be frank with you. 2024, the Western Line cannot be completed.
And you will not be able to complete the extended Eastern Line either by 2024?
The extended Eastern Line goes as far as to Burkina Faso. So I think that will be done in the next 10 years.
Okay.
But it's on progress.
Which one will be ready by 2024?
I can tell you for sure. For instance, the section from Kojokro Manso through Huni Valley, that section, of course, will be ready before 2024, which is done by Amandi.
This is Face to Face on CityTV. My guest is the Minister for Railway Development, John Peter Amewu. He's also Member of Parliament for Hohoe, the only NPP Member of Parliament in the Volta and Oti regions. So you can describe that as the eastern part of the country. We are having a conversation on railway development. We'll come back and talk more about timelines. And you remember the SkyTrain? What happened to it? Don't go away. Welcome back to Face on CityTV. My guest is the Minister for Railway Development, John Peter Amewu. As part of the plan, we're talking about the future. I didn't hear you mention a bullet train. Do you have that also somewhere in 50 or 100 years from now?
Yes. Not a bullet train as such, but the light trains within the metro cities was also a plan that was put within the master plan. Some companies have, in town, they've done feasibility studies. But we have not gone ahead to undertake any procurement. All this, as I stated, have to do with the cost implication. So the concentration for now, it's on the freight and then the passenger, but not the metro light trains. But the feasibility studies have been done, and it's also something that can be looked at.
Okay.
But it's not something that can be done within the short term.
Where are our SkyTrains?
Yeah, the SkyTrains, as I stated earlier, is also within the framework of the metros. That has also been discussed, and feasibility studies also have been done on that. But this sort of SkyTrain that we're talking about is not is the one that is going to run on the columns, just something similar to what you see in Dubai. Mm-hmm. That was something that we discussed.
So we haven't signed anything on paper?
No agreement has yet been signed.
So why did we estimate and propose and even announce that we're going to have SkyTrains in Ghana, in Accra? The man you succeeded is quoted as saying that we're going to have SkyTrains soon.
Well, it's maybe within the framework of the master plan. And
but as a minister currently, you can say on authority that there's no such agreement to have.
No, it's not possible to be done now. I don't see a SkyTrain being done in the next 3-4 years. I mean, let's be
so at least for the end of the Akufo-Addo administration, we are not going to have a SkyTrain.
There's not going to be any SkyTrain, please. Not possible.
Wow. Yeah. And this is because we don't have the money for it.
Precisely. The funding arrangements, as I said, it's quite capital intensive. Our own taxes cannot enable us to do that. Unless as a country we've agreed that some taxes to be levied, but the difficulties in which we are as a result of the COVID, you realize that cannot be possible.
So it means that SkyTrain should just be a dream for us for now.
It could be on paper for any successive government or anybody to come. You see, as a country, it's good to have plans and programs. That should not be what His Excellency Akufo-Addo is doing. It's not something he wants just that within my term of 8 years. He's doing it for Ghana, and Ghana as a country will stay forever. So whoever comes, the plan is there, and this is what we need to do as a country.
But you've excited the population. Does it mean people? It's just a mirage?
Coming out with an idea alone, it's good. The realization that we've got a problem has already solved 50% of your problem. If we should stay without realizing the need for this, nobody is going to initiate it. Okay. So the realization and going ahead to undertake feasibility studies, knowing exactly what should be done, I think it's a good start. Let's
move from the sky to the ground. When was the last time a train ran from Accra Central, Gogoloshi, to Nsawam or to Tema Asoprochona? It doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't happen in the last two years, as I know.
So if we can fix that short length, which is something you inherited, by the time you came in, even though the train looked ragged, it was still moving.
Yeah, but that line now, it has been, let me use the word refurbished. It's undergone some construction. It's supposed to be opened, but the COVID period, what happened, people were not observing the protocol. But the line, it's solid now. The last time we had to do some test run on it, that's when this unfortunate accident happened. There is a small culvert that's been constructed, that had been done. So I'm sure within the next shortest possible time, within the next 3 to 4 months, I estimate that that train should come back. There is nothing wrong with the line now. Construction has been done, maintenance work has been done on it. So we just to put the trains back on.
But do we have trains to put on them?
We have some rolling stocks that we can put on it.
So there can be a train from Accra to Nsawam, Accra to Asoprochona?
Precisely.
In 3-4 months?
Less than that. We should.
Let's look at a few more timelines. So you were in Parliament, and then you said that the Accra-Tema rail line is expected to reopen for passenger service by the end of August 2021. This is you, John Peter Amewu, speaking in August 2021. This is Graphic Online.
Yeah.
We are in this November 2021. You said it was going to be end of August. Now
but what I said, the line is ready. We can put trains on it and run now. Did you hear of the accident about 2-3 months ago? So it was a test run. Today we can put a rolling stock on that line. As I'm saying, it's ready. We can put a rolling stock on it.
But if August didn't happen, why should I believe you that February will happen?
Well, because there's no major maintenance work needed to be done. Some of this construction work, sometimes you estimate it, and then you have to go, beyond the estimated time. But as I'm telling you now, work has been completed. What needs to be done now is to put the rolling stock, back on track. The rolling stocks are ready. And so we're going to activate the process to make sure that, the trains...
Do we have trains? Working. How many trains do we have in Ghana?
I think now we have about 2 major locomotives.
In Accra or in the western side?
I think we have 2 here in Accra. And
that's the Ghana flag one, the one at Amer's brought.
Yes, and then
the old rickety one.
Locomotive in
And then we have one in Western Region.
Yeah, but we are also making plans to lease, through some agencies, especially the one that we're going to put on the Tema and Pakadan one. They are attempt to get
I'm interested in the Tema and Pakadan. I'll ask you a question, but let's talk about the Western one. Currently, is it transporting passengers or just boxes?
Just freight,
So the old propaganda that people can hop on a train from Takoradi to Takwa has also become a dead propaganda.
There is a freight now on that line, Unsuta, the one that transports the manganese, which is on the narrow, gauge.
No, but
that is working.
There was an announcement that is going to carry passengers for people who move from Takwa to Takoradi and back on a train.
You see, the freights and then the passengers, the lines are not limited to freight, as I keep on saying.
Yes.
You can do both freight and passenger.
Yeah, but do we have a passenger train on it?
We have a passenger train. But you see, it's the patronage. That is, the fact also remains that we have limited number of people patronizing that section. Because the sections is not a complete section. You know, if you have a line, for instance, running from Takoradi right down to Obuasi through Dunkwa, you can expect the passengers, you know, in terms of numbers to go up. But that short distance, you know, Nsuta to carrying the Magnus, there's no passengers on those
no, so let me be sure. To the best of your knowledge, was there a train carrying passengers from Takwa to Takoradi and back as of this November? Maybe it is the first week of November?
Carrying from to where?
From Takoradi to Takwa and back.
No, I'm not aware
You're
of
not aware. Which means that's not happening.
That's not happening as of now.
Which means currently in Ghana, we don't have passenger rail system.
The passenger rail system, as I stated earlier on, had been stopped during the COVID period.
And since then, we haven't gone back.
We haven't gone back, no.
So if I were living, there are people who live in Tema and hop on that train and come to Accra Central to do business and close. In the evening, we see them clinging on the train and going. That has not been happening.
No.
So these people have to resort to other transport. When would they be able to board a train from Tema to Akosombo, considering that you have done the Mpakadawa? So I'm from Australia Junction. If I wanted to go and live there and come and work in Accra, when should I estimate that I can sleep there, wake up in the morning, sit on a train and come here?
The Mpakadan section of the standard gauge is estimated to be completed by the second quarter of next year. That is the report we're getting from the contractor.
So that's Tema to Mpakadam?
Yes, the contractors are actively on site. You saw it yourself, I mean, if you have. So that's what we estimate that the completion time. So by immediately that is done, we should expect at least passengers to be, you know, working, flying on that section of the...
But what will be our plan? Are we planning that line simply for cutting of goods from the Tema Harbour? Because that is a very integral part of the whole project.
It's both. As I stated earlier, it's both for the freight and also for the passengers. But the intention, basically, was to decongest the port. Okay? And make sure that some of these containers, are... move out through that section so that the port could be decongested. So that is one of the measures.
I see. If people want to put their own private trains on the lines, what will be the arrangement like? So
precisely concessionaires approach. We're looking at that, just as other developed countries where the Israel government's concentration now is to build the line, and allow private sector to run it. Just like you see, government builds a route and private sector buys the vehicles and put on it and drive. And so that is the direction in which we are going in. And so instead of government procuring some of these rolling stock, which add to the cost of the existing running of the rail line, we want to avoid that and concentrate on development. That is why His Excellency is to develop the railway line, build the lines, and private sector can run on it.
Another thing I saw in Europe is the electric trains. So you have some sort of electric wires over the rail lines. So as the trains are moving, they have some connection to power and so on. Is that something that you have?
I don't want to talk about that. I think we are not there yet.
When would we get there?
So let's do.
I thought you were the one who was giving us a vision. I thought you had a vision.
Well, that is not within the master plan.
It's not.
No, it's not within that. What we try to do within this master plan
again. You're a former minister for energy.
Yes, precisely.
Do we not have enough power to generate to power?
It's not just a question of enough power, but it again runs down to a lot. You see, it's a lot of inputs are needed to resolve that. But what we're doing now is to do what we call the dual engine. I have a discussions with the Ghana National Gas Department. We have excess gas, and so our engines are going to be dualized, diesel engine and compressed natural gas. So there's a discussion to start constructing along the rail line. We lay a pipe, natural gas pipeline, so that these trains, locomotive will be fired on the natural gas, because the gas is for us, going to make it cheaper. So that discussion is something we are also introducing, into the system.
So I'm the one who is too excited. I'm overly excited and too predictive of the future.
No. I mean, it's good to talk about the electric thing, which is good. But I'm saying that within this current development that we have, that is not something we are considering.
So no plan for subways either, where trains will go under?
No.
You don't have that plan?
No.
Let's talk about your budget. This year's budget has been presented a week or so ago. Have you been given enough? What are you going to do with it? What's your plan with the budget estimates?
Well, you all know the constraint we're facing as a country, but I think we have some money there in the budget, so we will see what we can use it for. But apart from what you see in the budget, as I stated earlier on, some of the construction works currently that are going on are done on the EPC basis. So those are funding from the contractors themselves. Those do not reflect directly in the budget. Yeah, so I think the budget amount we saw is from the ABF, which is about 212 or so. But within that, we can do some sort of work with that internally. But the major work itself is on the EPC contractors, which don't directly reflect in the budget.
The man you work for is a man who likes to leave legacies. What would be the Amewu legacy when you leave the railway ministry, say in a year, in 2 years?
It is to build on the existing framework that my predecessors had commenced. Jogate has done quite extensive good work. And so, approval from His Excellency the President, I think that the legacy will be to see that the railway infrastructure, has been raised. I'm not in a position to tell you that we will complete all this line. It is not possible. So we must be very realistic. But I am quite pretty sure that by the time I'm leaving the office, the current contract being done by Amandi, which is from Manso to Huni Valley, distance of almost about 74 kilometers, will be completed. It takes no less than 3 years to complete a 100-kilometer, contract. And then even to go through the EPC processes alone takes you about 2 years. Approval from Parliament, approval from Cabinet, value for money, finance ministries. So I want to be very, very, plain and frank to Ghanaians. It is not possible. I mean, of course, it's not going to be possible. And I don't see how this 200, 300 kilometers of rail line can be constructed in 3 years. It is just not possible. Okay, but we have laid down the framework. We have done the design. We've done the procurement. So contract will be in place. The Temampagana, which is about 100 kilometers, how long has the contractor been on that line? Over 4 or 5 years now. And so it's a process. Building the railway line, it's not a one-day
So what key
activity.
things would we, say if you were not reshuffled and you remain till 2024 at that ministry, should we say by the time Amewu leaves, there will be a train that is carrying passengers at least from Accra Central to Nsawam as it was before the NPP came in, at least from Accra to Asopojana? Even if you can't add, at least keep what you left.
At least from Accra to Nsawam line will be operation. But that will be on the narrow gauge, not the standard gauge.
But the standard has not even started.
The standard has not even started, but the contract has been awarded. So the train operating on the narrow gauge, of course, that will commence. That I can give you assurance. I also state that the Manso to Huni Valley one, can progress, within the next 3 years. But they cannot complete. I don't see how they're going to complete that section.
And the Tema to Akosombo one either, that would also not be
ready.
The
Tema to Akosombo, as we said, through Mpakadan, that is expected to be completed by the second quarter of next year. That they would have finished.
And then you can put trains on it and start moving.
You can put trains on that one.
This is face to face on City TV. My guest is the Rail Development Minister. Let's talk now about his constituency. Hokwe, you broke the MPP's thirsts in the Volta region. How did you win a seat in the heart of Everland? I mean, you were regional chairman of the party.
Yeah.
Very vociferous, very active. You were always fighting with the NDC.
I wasn't fighting. They were my good friends.
They accused you of coming from Togo. They say you are Pierre, not Peter, and all of that.
Jean-Pierre. My good friend, Koku.
Yes. And today you've won. Was it money that won the seat for you, or MPP, the Achiglinyi, was loved by others?
I think the Achiglinyi was largely loved by people from
Are you
Hokwe.
sure?
Yeah. Oh, no. Hokwe is was a strong UP era. If you had those days of Anto, So most of our grandfathers were, UP. But the tradition was carried away as a result of my very good friend, Jerry John Rawlings' dynamism that he brought into the sector that took a lot of people out of there. But now the awareness is coming back. But what did happen in Hokwe actually is that under His Excellency President Kufuor, I served under him as a district chief executive. I contested, and I make a quite very good show. So I have done it before. That is, it's not that the 2020 election
yes.
was the first time I've entered a race. I've done it before, and I know the terrain quite well. On top of that, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo played a very critical role in terms of supporting me to send some development projects around the area. If you go to Howe today, I mean, a lot of development around Howe and its enclave. And that was also one of the greatest support. And the people of this country like development. And so the fight in Howe was more of development. And that is why you can see that tremendous change. Of course, we've attained almost over 35,000 deficit. The president couldn't win there, but the president votes moved from 4,000 to over 16,000, you know, over more than 300% jump in the president.
So it was Amewu who won the seat, not the MPP?
It was MPP, because the MPP is Amewu, isn't it?
Yeah,
if
but
if the president vote could move from 4,000 to 16,000, which constituency can gain that vote? You know, for a presidential vote increase. If all the constituencies in Ghana have done that, you know, the vote His Excellency Akufo-Addo will be gaining. So yes, of course, my own dynamism also plays. Very vital. I will not run down out. And also the trick on the ground. So that is why we win that seat. So it's a combination of all factors.
Are you sure they are not tired of you already, because Charlie, they realize that you just came to...
The people of Howe, I don't think they are tired. I mean, you can go and do your own survey. I mean, they are not tired. Because what they've seen and what they continue to see is unprecedented. Even as we speak today, the people of Howe are extremely happy.
I'll ask you about things you're doing, but before you won the election, they said you were involved in gerrymandering and all of that. Because of you, the Guan people were not able to vote because they had to cut them out so that you get to win. Oh, chaka.
You know, I wish that the Guam people were added to this election. You know, that's my strong zone. I've done this election before, as I said, in 2004. All my places I showed up and did very well is the Lipe enclave. That's my strong area. You understand? Today, if I have an opportunity to leave Howe seat and go and contest the Guam seat, I mean, it to be no show. I mean, I would win that seat.
You can win.
I can win that seat because that's my strong area. The people of Lipe, they know very well, you know, and you can go and attest yourself. Lipe could to me, Lolobi, where I schooled. You know, I went to Lolobi Seminary School. I live around that area, so I know the terrain very well. This gerrymandering that the NDC is talking about, it has nothing to do with me. I am not the EC. I don't demarcate constituencies. I don't create constituencies. I don't create districts. You know, okay? I went into an election that is fair, and I won on the fair ground. Howe's result was one of the first results to be declared in this country, and they were shocked. They took the people for granted. And that's my advice to the NDC in Volta region. As a political party, you must hold your strong base very strongly and make sure that you respond to their demand. They took the people for granted. And I'm telling you, and I'm advising the NDC, if they continue that trajectory in Volta region, gradually, MPP is going to penetrate to most of their strong areas. They should not take the electorates for granted at all.
You mentioned Lolobi, so Central Kofi Akpafu and Lipe. Those people, they've now got a district. They are yet to have a constituency. When do you think, because they are your neighbor and actually you are living there, when do you think they should be made to vote? Should they be made to vote now, or they should be without representation until 2024?
I don't know what the EC thinks about, but for me, if they have the opportunity, they should give them the opportunity to have their MP. There is nothing wrong.
Would that not affect your 137? Because that would be an NDC seat.
Well, how do you know the NDC would take it?
Oh, based on history.
What history? There is nothing like history in this our politics that we do.
Really?
You think the NDC cannot win Ashanti region if they take the people there seriously?
Really?
I know we should forget about these people are Ashanti, so this is their party. These people are Airways. There is, I mean, Ghana is a unitary state, and we must all be looked at as one people in the same basket and context. I have seen a possibility where NDC one day, if they work hard, they can win Mensia. I am telling you, look at if they work hard, they can win. And if MPP work very hard, they can win. Jamesi nearly won Ketu North. He nearly won. He lost by a margin of 4,000. But this is an area that the NDC think is their strong area, isn't it? So this politics of saying this is a strong area, when I was going to contest, everybody doubted. They say it's a strong area of NDC, you cannot win. I didn't believe it like that. Because the good people of this party and this country knows what is good for them. And if we politicians are not very careful, I mean, we want to just be taking the youth for granted, you will see what is going to happen in this country one day. Because the youth are getting, aware. and they know what is happening. So as a politician, you need to go out there and solve the problem of the youth.
So for you, if the EC deems it right, they should open the nominations, create a constituency in Guam.
The district is created.
Yes. Unfortunately, the DC died immediately after.
Oh, my very good friend, Malone,
Anipa.
It's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. So they can now have a constituency because they have a district.
If the EC thinks that, I'm not a...
If the law supports it.
If the law supports it, of course, why not? Give them their...
And you are positive that MPP will win that seat?
I'm quite positive. If you do our job very well, I'm quite positive.
Even though you lost your seat that you had in the OT region.
Precisely. Similarly, NDC also lost some of their seats, in the other areas. Won the seat for the first time in total. Won his seat, isn't it? So that is how the game of politics must be. NDC was able to win several of the MPP seats, isn't it? Similarly, MPP also won some of the NDC seats for the first time. So we should look at it in that direction and not be thinking that this is my strong area. There's not going to be like that as this country continues to grow.
This is Face to Face on City TV. When we come back, I'll ask him what he has done for the people of Hohoe to merit re-election, and also the petrol prices at the pumps going so high. I'll speak to him as a former Minister for Energy and as a former boss at Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP. They've been asking for petroleum prices to be reduced. Now the thing is going high like a rocket. Stay with us. You're welcome back to Face on City TV. My guest is John Peter Amewu, Member of Parliament, Hohoe, the only NPP MP in that part of the country. You've been elected, this is your 1 year so far.
Yes.
It's too early to say anything. You have your mandate of 4 years. There's an argument that MPs are not supposed to make any developmental or engage in developmental projects. Your job is to make laws and all of that. Where do you stand? Are you going to create development, or you're going to be busy in the parliament making laws?
I think the mandate of the MP is not only to make laws, but they are also to assist their constituents in terms of developmental needs. Basically, that is how I see it. Not making projects indirectly simple would have mean that using their resources to make projects. Of course, they have limited resources to do that. But what they can do is to lobby down projects, get to places and find out projects that are very good for the constituency. So MPs can do that. And as part of that, they can be considered as development agents for the constituency.
So what have you done so far?
We've done a lot, and we continue to build on our existing agenda of development for Hohoe. In terms of developmental projects, several. I can't mention them.
Mention a few. I'm sure.
There was a time the town roads. The town road is still in progress.
What you did in 2015, 2016 was when John Mahama and his NDC announced what they were doing on the Eastern Corridor. You went to town and said it's not true here and here. They've not done anything.
Of course,
that was tell me true. So that the NDC people are listening.
Well, the NDC people who are listening, watching me right now, should get to Hohoe, on the Blavet Road and see there's work going on now. We're going to do the asphaltic concrete on that route. Okay. As I speak today, they are constructing the drains. And we'll continue that. We'll come back to Bly area to finish up all the works that have been developed. So there's a construction work today currently going in that Wettown Road. If you go on the Plitoji Road, one of the non-accessible part of this country, it's one of the areas that nobody can tell you. You can't imagine that a road will get to that area. Today, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is constructing a road to that place. And you can see it feel. The people cannot believe it. And in that area, for instance, because of that massive work, I appreciate the good job we're doing. A number of boreholes currently are under construction, which we're trying to do. We are also developing...
Boreholes, don't you have Ghana Water Company in Hohoe?
Ghana Water Company, it's in Hohoe, but you see the catchment in terms of the water at that time was estimated about 64,000 people. Today, Hohoe is in excess of 200,000. So there's always this rationing in terms of water.
Okay.
So we have problem of water. But what we have done in this year's budget, you see the Hohoe water captured in the budget. It's all that as a result of the lobbying from the MP. We're going to take a water from Bando, through Alavanyo down to Hohoe. And that can spread to the catchment areas around the Hohoe. That is also a very massive project in excess of, I think, 150 million. The government made a pronouncement that they're going to build the campus of UHAS in Hohoe. This budget have captured it, and that is around Fodome. That amount of money, I think also in the excess of $160 million have been captured in the budget. And there's going to be a Hohoe campus of, UHAS being built there. the housing project. We bring in a housing project, the street housing scheme. It's also coming on board. The technical and vocational program. The land has been procured. Contractors' assessments have been done. Soil engineering tests have been done. That it's also so a lot of projects are going around. Apart from that, human development. I promise my people of Hohwe that every year we'll send 10 students to the United States to study on scholarship. That is ongoing. The first 10.
You've sent the first 10.
They have not yet gone, but they are processed to go.
Secondary school, university, or
these are people who have finished the SS, and also these are people. Some of them are in the university's first year. They've joined. They've written the SAT exams, and we facilitate their processes.
Sending 10 students.
Yes,
abroad.
10 every year. They're going to do that.
What about unemployment among the youth?
The unemployment situation is a problem across the country, and it's not specific to my constituency alone. Government through itself has done a lot in the previous, budget through this NAPCO that a lot of people have been roped in. Today, the Youth Start program is an opportunity for Hohwe, an opportunity for everybody. So we believe that we're going to use the Youth Start, to capture some of the youth that are very innovative in starting their own business and use that as a medium to
Let's talk about access
others.
to your constituency. You operate in Accra, in Parliament here, at the ministry in Accra. Going to Hohwe, you have to use the Eastern Corridor. That Eastern Corridor is like, I don't know. Has it been fixed at least?
Well, it's a project governments try to do. But I would say that this government under His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo has done quite a lot on it. What is interesting and the good news is that the section between Peki and Peve, that section, which is very bad, now you can drive through. It's been given to First Sky Construction, and it's working on that section. From that section, they're about to have there is a Chinese company that it's working on that.
Please don't mention Dodi Pepesu. Dodi Pepesu has been mentioned in every budget
from
forever.
From Hohwe to Jessica, you can use 5 minutes now.
Okay.
It used to be about 2 hours drive. That section has been done by Rolida, and then there's another section currently between Jessica and Nkwanta. Those sections are also under construction. So the Eastern Corridor actually is a long stretch of road. And I think that more than 8 contractors are currently on that stretch of road.
Let's talk about the situation with Ghanaians. As we speak, trotro drivers, commercial drivers are flying red cloth on their cars and tied same to their arms, and they are saying that they want petrol prices reduced at the pump, and they are calling on the government to do that. Petrol price keeps going up, and I think it's been a number of times, close to 10 within just this year. You were a former head at ASEP. You were also Minister for Energy. What is the problem? Is it that you people cannot fix the energy problem in the country?
Not at all. The only single traded international commodity that we have in this world is petrol. Petrol is not a regionalized commodity. It's not located to one area. It's across the country.
So universal price.
It's a universal price. So what affects petrol price today in UK or US or other places, you expect that, to happen within where you are. Globally, we are out of cheap oil, where oils have been, recovered from lower level. Today, you have to go deeper sea, to get oil. And so the cost of, lifting oil and the cost of development has increased. So oil prices globally started rising up.
Yes.
You will agree with me that during the COVID pandemic, crude oil was trading a bit low because of economic activities. Now, most of these economies are recovering from the COVID. And
so the demand is high.
So the demand is.
Yes.
So that alone has put some pressure, okay? And that is what we are saying. Apart from that, look at the South region, even Togo, countries surrounding us, and look at how much are their prices trading.
Yeah, but we are comparing with mediocrity. The problem is that you have put so many taxes on the liter of petrol. But can't you remove these taxes?
Precisely, those taxes can be removed. But again, we are the same people that are calling for development. And we see governments on its own doesn't create resources. And government, let me say, doesn't develop. It is you and I that develop this country. All governments do is to supervise the money we give him to develop. But invariably, it is your money. We are the development agents. And so the only way government can supervise our development activity is when we contribute to government.
So these trotro drivers who are saying that they're giving government up to Sunday to slash off 1 cedi 50%, you don't think it will happen? And I'll
plead with them to exercise patience. I'll plead with them to discuss it with the transport minister. Again, it's not only the fuel that constitute the pricing of the transport system. A lot of other things also goes in. Their spare parts, their oil, their regular maintenance, and everything. And the fact remains that as the price of oil increases, all of these things increase. So I sympathize with them. Okay. All right. As to whether they will also be allowed to increase transportation prices to match up with the increase in it. These are issues that they need to discuss with transport.
Jean Peter Amewu, Hohwe Member of Parliament, Minister for Rural Development. Thank you for coming on Face.
Thank you so much. I'm most grateful.
It's been great to see you again.
Let's talk from time to time.
So that's how we enter this conversation here on City TV. My name is Umaru Sanda. Please keep your eyes glued to City TV because it's your world.